Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Live with the Stampmaven on Monday night. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. I am going to apologize in advance for my voice. Last week, I had laryngitis for several days out of the week, and I sounded like a frog, and tonight I probably don't sound a whole lot better. But you know what? We are going to get through this, and I've got a fun project to show you tonight and a couple different samples to show the same card that I'm showing you. So let us get started. This is the card that we are going to make, but I want to show you these other samples before we actually do the one that we're going to make. This is a Christmas sample, and I used the Tidings of Christmas Designer Series paper with that. This paper pack just has some really great pieces in it with Christmas colors, with evening evergreen. It's got cherry cobbler, soft succulent, and it's just a fun paper. And I actually used a punch to punch out these trees, and then I snipped them apart and I colored some pearls with my Stampin' blends. Well, hey, Kay and Carol, and I'll just say hello to everybody else who has popped in who maybe I can't see your name yet. Okay, this little card is made the same way. Isn't this just adorable? What I love about this card, I made it with this sweet little stocking stamp set. Let me turn off this above light. I think that was causing a glare. And then it has got matching dies. But what is so great is many of the papers coordinate with the dies. Like this one here, you can see right here. Let me show you. Well, that's not the one, sorry. It's this one right here, the big one. And this one will coordinate with the smaller one. So you can just punch it out and put it on your card, which is exactly what I did here. I stamped the stocking, I stamped the little doggy head, and then I colored him in with my Stampin' blends, stamped and punched out the little hat, and you probably can't see it too well, but I did use Wink of Stella on the hat. And I just think this is the cutest paper in the world, especially if you are a pet lover. All righty. Now let's bring in my other card that we're going to make tonight. And I use the Frightfully Cute stamp set. And tonight I'm going to use the Which Way to the Candy Greeting. And I use the coordinating dies. And this little witch's hat is the one that I used. Now, the other thing that I used is, have y'all seen the Scalloped Contours dies? I love these dies. They nest and they have different sizes. We are going to use this one right here tonight, and this actually has a piece. I'm going to show it to you. I use Smoky Slate, and it actually separates right here, and that's how we're going to run our ribbon through. But more about that in a minute. Let me tell you all the supplies that I used. First off, I use a piece of 5.5 by 12-inch basic white cardstock, and we are going to score that together in just a minute. Now, this piece I mentioned I cut out with this scalloped contoured die out of smoky slate cardstock. Then you need a piece of 1 3/8 by 2 3/4 basic white, and that is going to go on top of this, and we're going to stamp on that later. Now we've got a DSP here, we've got one here, we've got 2 here, and we've got 1 here. Now, let me leave that right there. I used the Stampin' Up! Halloween paper that is in the mini catalog. I'm not a big, scary, frightful Halloween person, but I love the little cute ones. I make cards and treats for my grandkids and my coworkers. So I love that paper. So this card, like I mentioned, is 5.5. So all of your designer series paper is going to be 5.25 inches long. So this piece and this piece here are 1.5 by 5.25. Then this piece here and this piece here are 2 3/4 by 5.25. And this last little guy, he is 1 1/8 by 5.25. All right, let me bring in my scoring and cutting tool, and we're going to score. Our first score is going to be at 1 3/4. Now you want the long side of your paper to the top of your trimmer. All right, and if you have a scoring tool, you could use that instead. Make sure you move your cutting blade out of the way. You don't want to cut it by mistake. So 1 3/4. Then we've got 4 3/4. Let me open up my arm here because my last measurement is going to be 7 3/4. Pretty easy. I love cards where the measurements are very easy. Okay. Now you want to get your bone folder and you want to make sure that you crease at these score lines really well, because it will make it much easier when you go to put on your paper. All right, I think I've got those creased pretty well. All right, now I did cut my paper ahead of time. I like to use my Tombow mono liquid glue. It's so funny. I call this, and I call it green glue because it's green and it's got a green top. Well, yesterday at my stamp club, somebody asked me a question, one of the ladies, and I said, oh, use the green glue. It's more forgiving. And one of the other ladies said, what? Stampin' Up! Sells green glue now? I said, no, it's just the packaging. Okay, now the reason I use that green glue is, see, it is very forgiving. You can move it around and get it exactly where you want it before you get it laid down. Sometimes your Stampin' Seal isn't quite as forgiving. So if I know that I'm not putting a bunch of layers on it, I will just use that Stampin' Seal. Now, this paper is double-sided, so you could use this one if you want, but I want to have all these fun little pieces on here. So I've got the little skeleton. you want to just make sure you get your glue all over so it doesn't fall apart. The other benefit of using this glue, it dries clear, which is really nice. You can also use your silicone mat if you want to make sure you don't get any glue on your surface. I love this mat. It's like $6 and it just is indispensable to me when I'm making a bunch of projects. Excuse me. Let me take some water here so maybe I won't sound as croaky. Now I'm going to get my little pumpkins and cats. You just won't believe how easy this is. And, you know, it would create interest when people receive it because of the folds. And the cool thing is, if you wanted to make it a photo card, you could so easily put your photo in here and then leave this panel off and make that where you wrote your greeting. All right, so let me just get this last little panel on here. And this card doesn't use a whole lot of designer series paper either. Now, you notice I'm going to leave about the same border here as I did all around there. So then, when it opens, look at that, but we're not quite done yet. So, remember how I showed you this little piece right here, you can slip ribbon through. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to stamp my greeting. And I'm using the Which Way to the Candy. And we are just going to assume I can stamp it perfectly on camera. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. And then I'm going to grab my gingham checked ribbon, which is right here. If you watched, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I did my live and I made those cute little jars and used that gingham ribbon. This ribbon, I bought 4 rolls of it, you guys. I just love it. All right, then we're going to get down this little Which Way to the Candy. Then I'm going to, let me bring it in here. I leave my ribbon on my roll when I'm doing it, and that way I can put it through and do my tying before I cut it, and that way there's much less waste. And I'm going to show you before we sign off too how I mount these clear stamp sets, because you might have missed that before, and I've got a real easy way for you to do that, and it will take, I think, some of the stress out of you doing that. Okay, so see how I really didn't waste much ribbon at all? I'm going to tie this little knot instead of a bow. I usually do knots instead of a bow because I think they lay down a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to cut that. And the cool thing is too, with this little slit, you can move it down to where you want it to get it all even. And there, voila, there it is. Now, when you're going to put this on your card, you only want to put the dimensionals right here because you don't want it to stick to the other side of your card. Otherwise, it won't open. Well, thank you, Twyla. I'm so glad you like this card. All right, so there's that. Now, here is my little witch that I cut out. Let me get the right side. This is the black glitter paper, and what is so cool, you guys, this glitter does not come out. It doesn't get on any of your projects, which makes it totally awesome. Now, you could put the little witch's hat here. You could stick it right down here. You could put it over here. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then on my sample that I started with, I put it on the inside. But I think I'm actually going to put it out here on the outside. Let me get this guy. And then I'll just stamp on the inside of my card. There we go. So, how easy is that? And my little glue is coming out there, but I'm just going to wipe it off with my finger and it dries clear so you won't even see it. You could put, and I think I'm going to do that. Let's do that right now. I'm going to take these pearls and I am going to take my paper pumpkin blends and I'm going to color these right here. And then I'm going to put those on the front too. I love to bling, don't you? Who likes to bling instead of just leaving cards naked? We don't like naked cards, do we? All right, so let me just grab. You can see that when I colored the red ones on the Christmas tree, it got on my scissors, and I'll clean those off later. Okay. All right, then let's put that one on there. And, well, he fell away. Let's get him again. Come on, little guy. Oh, my goodness. He is not cooperating. I usually use my take a pick tool, but I was trying to save time here. Never fails on live, right? But that's okay. We're just going to put a little blob of glue right there. And then we can get that little rascal back on there. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, and now the other one moved. Of course it did. It never fails when you're doing a live, right? All right, well, you get the gist. There's that one, and wherever the other little guy went, I'll find him later. But won't that be cute with those cute little pumpkin embellishments? Now, let me show you my trick for mounting the stamps, okay? So, here I've got just this little circle one right here from the stamp set. So, here is the label. So, all I'm going to do, I'm going to remove half of the label. Then I'm going to take this white piece off. Remember, you always have to take that off. Then I'm going to make sure I line this up correctly. So here is the part. I'm going to line it up right on that circle. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to take off the other part right here of the label. Then I'm going to smush it down there and voila, perfect mounting every time. It makes it so much easier, guys, if you do it half at a time. Well, thank you so much for stopping in. Let me show you my samples one more time. And I will post these measurements right after I post the live. So hopefully you can create your own. Well, I will see you again next time, next Monday night. And oh, before I go, if you do not get my newsletter, you want to go to stampmaven.com and sign up in the right sidebar in the right-hand corner, because on Wednesday at 1 o'clock, my 12 weeks of Christmas starts. It's totally free, but it is exclusive to my newsletter subscribers. All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks for putting up with my voice. Toodaloo, happy stamping.